Yeah.
They're-
Yeah. Ready to go? Okay, this is the veterans, Vietnam veterans interview process to capture histories about the experiences of Marine tankers in Vietnam. And we're talking to Don McMillan, John Hughes, and John Hancock, all from 3rd Division, Company C, 2nd Platoon, in Vietnam in 1967-68. So what I'd like to ask the three gentlemen is just to begin with, what all would you like to talk about today? Is there a particular event, an operation, an ambush, or something like that that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, whatever. Well, I think we had a pretty diversified
Yeah.
type situation. We can talk about what happened on the 19th of January, if you want, or
Okay, so January 1968.
Eight.
Okay. Where were you?
we were at Charlie 4, north of Quaviet River, south of the DMZ on the East China Sea.
Okay. How many tanks?
Just two.
Two?
Charlie 2-3 and Charlie 2-5.
Okay. And what happened?
Infantry platoon got ambushed early in the morning.
We were called out on the Reactionary platoon or force, and the rest of the company. We were supporting Charlie Company 1-3, and basically we were attached. I believe it was 1st Amtrak Battalion,
Yes. Yep.
and we were called out on the Reactionary force. We had a lieutenant. I can't remember exactly how long he had been with us. He was the tank liaison officer. And when we were mounting up to move out, he got on my tank. And it pissed me off, because
As the TC?
as a TC.
You were the TC.
And I was the
They
TC.
bumped Don off.
Yeah, I had to stand down.
Yeah, and bumped Don off. So I went, the platoon sergeant he was a staff sergeant named Henry Hill,
Okay.
and everybody called him Skinny Henry. But I guess then he had been around for a long time, and from what I understand, he's passed away.
Okay.
But anyways, Sergeant Hill told me, he said, well, he is the tank officer. So I was pissed that he had
Right.
taken over my tank. And anyways, we got on up the beach a ways, and this ambush was at a place called Little View, and it was like a horseshoe type clear area between two sand dunes, and there was some pines.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side of what they called Little View at that time was Ocean View.
Okay.
So anyways, when we rolled into where the firefight was at, and I was acting loader, keeping the guns going, and we had a guy named, was it Roberts?
That was Rhodes.
Rhodes.
Yeah.
Rhodes
The gunner.
was the gunner.
Mhm.
And anyways,
I was a driver.
we
Okay.
we hadn't been there very, not very long at all, just maybe a minute or a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and and the lieutenant just kind of slumped down in the turret. And his feet flew out and his ass hit the seat. And so I come over the radio that the lieutenant was hit. And John here was my driver, and so Sergeant Hill said, "How bad?" And I just come back, I didn't know, and the rounds was ricocheting off the tank and everything, and here come a corpsman
Yeah. Climbed into the vehicle.
right down inside the turret.
Oh my gosh.
And
Was he riding on the tank or was he?
no, he was with
Yeah,
with
he
the.
just- I guess I expect he saw the lieutenant go down.
He may have heard, or maybe the company commander or somebody,
Mm-hmm.
you know, had heard that when I went out over the radio, that, but anyway, the corpsman come zipping down inside the turret, and I had already had the lieutenant laying down on top of the deck boxes, and but anyways, the company commander came over the radios and said that there was an Amtrak, you know, several hundred yards down the beach, that was an aid station to proceed down there. And anyway, the corpsman had already shook his head, you know, there was, but,
He shot dead too.
I was gonna say, he was killed, probably killed instantly, like,
oh yeah.
He did before he fell down in the turret.
yeah.
So we left the battle area, went down the beach where they had the aid station set up, and we got the lieutenant offloaded.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, Rhodes was there, and I told Rhodes to get rid of his flak jacket, and all down the back of it was just brain matter and blood and stuff.
Good.
And we had extra flak jackets behind the radios. And so anyways, we got the lieutenant offloaded, and I said, well, let's go, guys. And
And back into the fight.
Yeah, only 3 men.
yeah, John said,
TC, driver, and
And Rhodes went to load.
Rose.
well, Rhodes stayed
Okay.
gunner, and I TC'd and loaded.
Oh, you did both? I didn't realize.
And you know, John says, do we have to?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I said, there's a lot of other places I'd rather be going, but we got to go back there.
Yeah, wow.
That's some scary
And,
shit. I want you to know, first time I'd ever been in that kind of.
Oh, yeah.
And
Was this in the morning or the evening?
It was early in the
it was in the
morning.
morning,
Okay.
and we got back up to the battle area, and we was, I guess, you know, Rhodes was picking targets at random with the 30,
Right.
and so anyways, I was trying to direct and load and keep things going, and
You shooting the 50 too, weren't you?
yeah, I was trying to
Wow.
fire the 50, and anyways, the company commander come over and said, over the radios, and he said, I've got a squad just about at your 11 o'clock that's pinned down. So anyway, I told Huey, I said, go to the 11 o'clock and proceed forward. And I was looking through the vision rings, and this Marine stood up waving. So I pinpointed them and was able to direct Huey down to where they were at.
Right.
And anyway, the gooks were up on the sand dune and had them pinned.
Yeah.
And so we got down and they was able to get cover behind the tank.
All right. Threw their dead guys up on the fenders so I couldn't see
well,
the vision blocks.
Anyways, we were firing and stuff. Well, the damn 30 quit. And I couldn't get it to go, so we were firing the 90, and we were mandated to carry 5 Willie Peter rounds.
Mhm.
Everybody hated Willie Peter.
Yeah.
And I'd already made my mind up if I was gonna get rid of them.
One way or the other?
One way, any way I could, the first chance I got. Well, anyways, I got 4 of them fired off, and they come back over and says, "Don't fire any more smoke. They are going to use it to bracket us, you know."
Yeah. Oh, gee.
So, anyways, we got things settled down, and I guess hopefully took care of the MVA
Yeah.
that had the squad pinned down.
Mhm.
Well,
And
if you stopped taking incoming with the Willie Peter, I guess they didn't stick around.
Well, we didn't get any incoming from the Willie Peter, but we still was taking some small arms and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
and I think we fired a couple, 3 or 4 or 5 HE and some canister, and
Yeah.
Well, as I remember, we had that 1 Willie Peter round left of 90.
we did.
So we got rid of 4 of the 5.
We got rid of 4.
We got every bit of the 90 millimeter ammunition was gone.
Oh, really?
Every freaking bit of it.
But
How long were you going, did this go on? I mean, to fire a full
Seemed like
tank?
about 12 days.
it
Yeah.
it seemed like a lifetime, and I have no idea to the minutes or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
but it was like it just probably might have lasted maybe 2 hours,
Yeah.
2.5 hours in there somewhere. The grunts had there was a big Hawaiian sergeant,
Had one that had the big star on his arm.
and anyways, I about took him out. He had a Ho Chi Minh straw hat and had a
Oh, wait,
communist machine gun
Yeah.
that had the belt strap and everything. He run across in front of the tank, and I was swinging the turret, and I just happened to rise. I said, "What's that crazy son of a bitch doing?" But he didn't. He hated the M16, and we got a couple M14s out of that deal, and he took them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted them. So, but anyways, he had that Chicom machine gun and that straw hat on.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh,
Ask him
Lord,
to
he-"
get shot.
I know it.
He's a crazy guy.
But we got one of the infantrymen that was KIA. They had literally just about shot him in half,
Wow.
where he laid in the open, and the gooks literally just about, they shot him so much he was just about into. And I can remember we got the wounded, just about every one of them was wounded, and there was 2 KIA there.
Right.
And we got them loaded up on the tank, and the ones that could walk was behind the tank, and we backed out.
Okay.
And the platoon sergeant was with them. The infantry platoon sergeant was with that squad, and he gave us used the TI phone
Right.
to give us directions on backing out. We got back to the beach, and an old CH-34 helicopter landed for medevac, and they had this one guy that was with the squad was in really bad shape, and there was a first-class corpsman, and he done a trach on the beach, and brought this guy back to life, and that helicopter crew sat right there in that firefight until that corpsman got the guy stable and got him loaded on board.
That's incredible.
And then, but he died in flight to Don Ha to the Med.
Did you ever have a corpsman assigned to you at all during your time in Vietnam, assigned to the tank unit?
We had, we had corpsmen assigned to the
Hey.
company,
Yeah, okay.
but when we weren't with the company, then the grunt corpsman,
Yeah. Wow.
and,
So you got bumped, what were you doing when they were having?
We were
this?
monitoring the radios
Oh, so
back
you were
at
listening
the
to all
CP. Yeah, we heard what was going on. And then the Amtrak started coming back, bringing the wounded to the aid station here at C4. So we were offloading these guys, and,
Yeah.
waiting. You know, when we heard the lieutenant went down,
Yeah.
I got the next Amtrak going back up. And,
Or with it.
Did you ever find out who the corpsman that jumped down into the,
I can't remember
yeah,
what his name was.
that's his name, because he had to climb up on the tank.
And
Then-
under fire,
Yeah, under
I
fire.
mean, we hadn't been in that firefight, it was still a lot of
Yeah,
stuff flying.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he climbed up on that tank and down in that,
through the TC hatch.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and he rode back up inside the turret to the,
Right.
when we got back up in the battle,
Yeah,
he said, well, I got to go, and pew, he bounced back out the loader's hatch, and,
did he make it? He survived that?
yeah,
Oh, yeah, he was still.
yeah, he did. He didn't get a scratch,
wow.
and
It's amazing.
Any idea of the casualties for the bad guys? I mean, the command chronologies or anything like that? So,
I think they gave us credit for 28 KIA. And after any command chronology that, I think I read something about it, and some corporal took credit for taking over the platoon. The platoon leader kind of spazzed out, I think, and their platoon sergeant,
right,
he was pinned down with the squad,
right.
and but when we got up there, the company commander, called him Charlie,
Yeah.
whatever, what's going on, and the guy come back and said, I don't know, every time I stick my head up, I get shot at. And the company commander says, well, don't fucking feel like the Lone Ranger, what's going on?
Oh, my God.
That little company commander, he was something else, and I heard that he had gotten killed later on.
Really?
Up toward
The captain,
Murray
I
Ridge,
don't-
someplace, what I heard.
Okay, yeah, Muddy Ridge was bad.
And
Where were you headquartered out of? Dong Ha or?
when we left to go to Charlie 4, we were at Camp Evans.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
it was like.
3rd Tank Battalion was at Jolly.
Well,
okay. Yeah.
We left Camp Evans and went down to Way City and got on the U-boat there
Right.
at the boat ramp at McBee,
Yeah.
and went up to the Quaviette River and then on into Charlie 4. We were the first tanks up in that area, I guess.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
And they were building the die marker bunkers,
Mm-hmm.
and we filled a lot of sandbags. We had to
we dug the tank.
dig
Oh, yeah.
our desolate
Yeah.
positions. We had one tank on the southwest part, and then that, and 2-5 was up on the northwest part. And during this firefight, Staff Sergeant Hill, and they were shooting in the commander's hatch,
Right.
and the rounds was ricocheting down inside the tank.
Oh,
And Staff Sergeant Hill was hit in the back with one of those ricochets, and he refused evacuation. And I had one of the vision blocks in the ring
Mm-hmm.
had the bullet mark on the inside where a ricochet had,
On the inside? Oh.
yeah, it had come off of the clamshell
Yeah.
Okay,
into that, vision block.
yeah,
We probably had 2 or 3 of those rounds floating
Yeah.
around inside the tank, you know, but,
uh,
I don't know, we got, air resupplied right there with our 90 millimeter ammo.
ammunition?
And, the first flechette rounds, the 90 millimeter flechette.
Really, first time you used them was,
First time we
Was
ever
on
saw
that
it.
resupply, so we had to, luckily, when the cases had, the instructions how to set the fuses.
I was gonna tell you, you gotta know what you're doing.
Yeah, the instructions had, it was right there with the rounds, you know, so.
And that's how you learn to use
That's,
flechette.
that's how we
Exactly.
learned to use them.
Loaded the tank back up and it sat on the fenders reading the instructions on how to shoot it. you know?
Yeah. And,
Oh, my goodness.
did we stay there overnight, guys? I
Yeah,
can't,
yeah,
yeah,
we
we
stayed
did,
there
we
overnight.
stayed there overnight.
Don't you remember that little idiot from Pennsylvania, that little engineer, come up to the tank after a little while? He says, you know, they don't shoot engineers. I said, what the hell you mean they don't shoot? He said, I scraped a little hole over there, and the captain come along and looked at it and said, they don't shoot engineers?
Captain's never wrong. Yeah.
But,
My understanding was that whole thing kicked off from our patrol coming in the next morning and being ambushed by the forward element of the 803rd NVA Regiment.
Might have very well been.
that's what,
That sounds right.
Does it sound right to you?
Yeah.
Because they recovered from that battle, and I think we inflicted a whole lot more casualties than that. But, and it was Bravo 1-3, wasn't it? Or was it Alpha?
no, it was,
That we were
No, it was
working
Charlie,
on?
it was Charlie one.
Charlie 1-3,
Yeah.
Charlie Company, 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines,
They was relieved by Bravo
And-
1-3
and-
a couple weeks later.
and Bravo relieved them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bravo Company, 1-3 relieved them. But I'm, from what I understand, that it was the, 803rd NVA Regiment
Right.
that we were engaged with on that day. And I think we probably engaged them several other times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, they went down into Mylock and the SLF,
Mhm.
and I can't remember which one it was, but 3rd Platoon Charlie Company, 3rd Tanks was with that SLF.
Yeah, they were on the float.
And anyway, they come in and engaged the 803rd NVA Regiment and had some supporting units from Amtrak Battalion, the Am Grunts,
Right.
and completely annihilated it. It was no longer a fighting force after that particular battle.
Yeah.
And we didn't participate in that. But we could hear it. We were at Charlie 4, we could hear it. And from what I understand, every person in that 3rd Platoon Charlie Company tanks was wounded.
Right.
And there was 3 guys, every tank was mine damaged. The float platoon, tank platoon that was with the float, retrieved their vehicles for them because they'd been medevaced.
Yeah.
They had one tank that was combat loss, the Charlie 3rd Platoon, and there was one 3-man crew. They were superficially wounded,
Mhm.
and they were able to short track their tank and brought it out.
Wow.
But the other 3 tanks that was left in that platoon, that float platoon, retrieved it.
Yeah. Do you usually operate with a 4-man crew, or were you?
Yeah, most of that.
Most of the
Oh
time.
yeah, 4-man crew.
Yeah.
the way this thing worked out, it was just a,
Yeah.
It's always available.
Yeah.
You know,
there was just three of us, and Rhodes done exceptionally well, you know, by being able to scan
Mhm.
and fire, and I helped him where I could,
Yeah.
but I was loading, and we finally, the reason the 30 quit, remember, we were firing out of the ready box
Mm-hmm.
on the side of the turret.
Right.
And that ready box was just about empty.
Yeah.
There wasn't very many. There might have been maybe 300 rounds left in it. And those 300 rounds of projectiles were
Ben?
bent.
Oh, jeez.
And, you know, we never found that out until after that.
Yeah.
You could really look at them, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I think that's all the ammunition we have left was those
Was it
rounds.
30?
No, we had the ready box, the big ready box under the
Oh, all right.
under the gun,
Right.
and the deck boxes. We still had, 30 and 50 ammo in the deck boxes, but about the last 300 rounds in that ready box on the turret wall the projectiles were bent.
Yeah.
They,
Right.
they were hard to chamber when they
Oh,
were
yeah.
bent.
Wow.
Well, the next day when we got back to Charlie 4, we had to pull all the batteries and clean all the lieutenant's remains out of the bottom of that tank.
Really? Yeah. Oh, bet.
Yeah, it was, I don't know,
I knew right after he got killed that he was probably dead because there was blood up there under my feet.
Yeah.
And I'm driving.
Was he recently in country, or had he been there for a while?
I'm not sure.
I really don't know,
That was,
and I can't really remember. He hadn't been with us very long.
Yeah.
They had been with just a few.
Well, if he's doing liaison, he's probably not been in a tank very often either. If he's
And-
just working a liaison between the tank units and the Amtrak's.
But he was, I had heard that he had come from Alpha Company. So whether he had been a platoon leader with Alpha Company and getting short or whatever, but he was married.
Yeah.
He had a Instamatic camera that he carried that Instamatic camera around, and
I could take pictures.
when we were going through, getting his personal gear ready,
Right.
we couldn't find that camera. And we looked on the tank and everything, and we couldn't find it on the tank nowhere.
Huh.
So I don't know if he was standing up in the cupola taking pictures
Wow.
but his camera was nowhere to be found. We got all the rest of his personal gear except the camera.
Yeah. Jeez.
So
Now, did you stay attached to Amtrak's for much of your tour, or the whole tour, or just that one?
Off and on,
Off and
yeah,
on.
quite a bit.
Well, they had, I left Charlie 4, the radio message come in for me to get my junk together and go back to the company headquarters, and at that time, the company had moved to Quaintree.
Okay.
They'd moved from Camp Evans up to Quaintree.
Right.
And so when I got back to the company, they told me, said you're going up to Cam Low, and you're going to be the 2nd platoon sergeant. So I was the E5 sergeant, and so I got up to the Cam Low, was acting platoon sergeant. We had 4 tanks at Cam Low. We had four gun tanks. We had the heavy section of the 2nd platoon, and we had the old Hotel 5-2.
The,
blade tank
Okay, yeah.
from H&S Company.
right,
And it had survived Way City.
wow,
And, you know, it was full of patches and stuff
Yeah.
where RPGs had gone through it. And I'm pretty sure I had 3 flame tanks attached and
Yeah.
those 4 gun tanks at Cam Low. And 2 of the gun tanks went up to the Cam Low headquarters,
okay,
where the McVie headquarters was at Cam Lowville. And the rest of the tanks, and I think 1 flame tank went up to there. And John Ware
I was gonna say, John probably was on one of those,
he was on flame tank, and I don't remember him.
yeah. Hard to forget, John.
I know it's hard to forget him, but I don't remember him. And anyways, we stayed at Cam Low for a while, and you go out of C3, going up toward Conti Inn and the washout.
Yep.
Up on a hill, there was the Gooks had set up a 57 recoilless, and they were shooting at the convoys. So, anyways, we started putting a tank up there on that hill, and to see if we could spot it. Well, the Gooks quit shooting at the convoys when the tank showed up, but and they never did shoot at us. So,
Yeah,
but we were supposed to look at, you know, for
Yeah,
for the back blast and
Yeah.
stuff, and
Take it
knock
out.
him out when
Yeah.
he fired. But he was smart enough.
he was gonna say smart.
He DD'd somewhere.
Uh,
But then we got all of our whole platoon together for a while, and I guess we left in November, the first part of November, to go to C4 from Camp Evans.
Yeah.
And then this was probably in May. We had the whole platoon together at Dong Ha. They done maintenance on the tanks, and the 5 tanks we left Dong Ha and went down the river to Mousy Tai.
Okay,
There was a grunt battalion at Mousy Tai, and they had some Amtraks and had the tank platoon. And so anyway, we got set up on the perimeter and stuff, and 3 or 4 days later, they pulled the grunts out.
Yeah, we did our own infantry.
So here's they brought in a company of Amtraks. They dismounted them
oh, okay,
and brought the Amtrackers up, and the Amtrackers and us stood perimeter on that,
oh, jeez.
you know. And-
Big perimeter too, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was a good sized
Yeah.
perimeter.
Anybody
Yeah.
bother you?
No,
I bet.
it's a wonder. Then the next thing you know, here come Charlie Company and a whole,
Old Blake was company coming.
you know.
Really?
Yeah, they brought Ontos in up there, and Charlie Company 3rd Tank's headquarters moved from Cam Low down
Yeah.
to Mousy Tai, and the friggin' captain tried to take our hooch.
Yeah.
We were gonna,
Like you.
yeah, we were gonna,
Good hooch.
there's a
Yeah.
mutiny, yeah. It'd blow your ass
Hooches were really
away.
nice one.
Yeah, you know, we, this old house was there, and it was partially blown away.
Right,
And the grunts, when they pulled out, they left a bunch of stuff. And so we got an old GP tent, I think, and stretched it over the house
Yeah.
to keep it dry, and the guys had to made them little cubicles and
Oh, yeah.
set their racks and stuff up and everything. Well, when the company moved in there, that asshole captain seen it, and he decided that was gonna be his area. But he wound up in the mud hole. 'Cause we didn't move.
Yeah.
that's good. Well, he should have known better.
But anyways, it's,
Well, that's probably why he sent me on that OP in the middle of a typhoon.
No, really?
That morning, it hadn't really started yet, it was just starting to rain, and
Yeah,
so he sent me and my crew out about 2-3 clicks. There was another bill over there on the tree line. We got out there and it's raining and pouring. He wanted us to climb up in the church steeple Well, the Sturt's steeple was only about that wide, it was just a facade thing.
Yeah,
So I called him, I said, you can't get up here, I figured he'd bring us in now. Stay out there and watch. Well, you can't see nothing further than windows. We stayed there about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I finally said, well, there's a typhoon coming, so maybe we get them guys back in.
Oh, jeez.
So we come back and the dry patties we had walked across, we came back waiting with the rifles.
Oh, my gosh.
Thing was, about the whole river was just coming up like crazy.
Yeah. That lasted a couple of days, didn't it?
Oh,
It
yeah.
about washed everything away at Mousy
Yeah,
Tie,
sure
except
did.
our hooch.
No wonder he wanted that. Jeez.
Well, he sent me and 2 tanks down to Quaviette there where the Amtrak was
Right.
at. And we worked, run sweeps south of Quaviette
Okay.
there for quite a while. And then, anyways, I come back up to Mousy Tie and picked up what little bit of stuff I had left up there and rotated out.
Wow.
One night they sent those 2 tanks out on they decided, somebody had said that they spotted bad guys down south there.
Right.
I mean, this is the middle of the freaking night they send us out. And to get out, do you remember we used to have to go around the wire where it stretched out into the ocean? So the Amtrak's would go through, they had no problem.
Yeah.
We'd go through and I just greased that friggin' tank the day before, so here I am getting salt water in it again. We go around that thing and head on down the beach looking for the goop infantry or whatever. And we also had an Ontos with it. Now that poor little bastard, he was about drowned.
Yeah.
We got out there and we had some Amtrak lieutenant, I guess, who thought he was John Wayne. We get out there and we go quite a while, I mean, a couple miles at least down that beach. There's a tree line running perpendicular to coming down to the water. Well, he turns about 100 yards before we get to that tree line. He turns us inboard, marches us in about, I don't know, maybe another 100 yards, and then gives us order for all vehicles to make a hard left, come on line, and start firing their machine guns and charge that tree line in the dark. We done that.
Oh, my gosh.
And I went to cock the 50, and because I'd changed my trousers, and my 50, I just carried my cocking lever in my pocket.
Right.
Well, it was in the pocket of the other
Other
pants. So I just pulled out my 45 and cut loose.
Didn't quite sound like a 50, did it?
No, we were sending bullets down range, you know.
Well, what was in the tree line? Did you ever find out?
Not a damn thing.
Wow.
They had dismounted some of their am grunts and they went water. There was nothing there. And we went farting around there and went back and went on the other side of the tree line. And we started going up there again, running parallel with the other side of the tree line. And we see something I can see it up there. And the first Amtrak pulls up next to it and the guy gets off and walks. There's a bunch of doggies out there, a doggy patrol.
Mm-hmm.
They're slumming, you know. They're out there hiding on the beach, sleeping and sending in sit reps. You know, and it was from Marical guys. So we were down in there, AO probably.
Wow.
So I always thought that's what whoever saw something saw.
Yeah.
Was in dog faces. So we start coming back, and we get back. The sun's starting to come up. It's just beginning to get light. And they decide to sweep that little ville that was south of Quaviette. Remember the little village there? And so they have us set up on the south side, and damn grunts go in there again, and I don't know what they find, but they decided to pop smoke or put C4 into it. They put C4 in there, and that's when we find out only 2 or 3 of us have got gas masks, and the other guy didn't.
Oh, jeez. Oh.
So we're up, you know, and we'd be swapping around so the next guy could breathe.
Jeez.
It was a mess.
Yeah. Now, down in that area, was it a free fire zone, or did you have civilians you had to worry about and to get permission to fire and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
some extent, yeah. Now, north of the river,
I was
that
gonna
was
say,
all free fire, because
yeah.
they moved all the
Yeah.
civilians out of there.
Yeah,
Well, south of the river, there was still people in
yeah.
there.
Well, there was still a village right off the river, you know, just directly south of C4,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
That's where we was that
It was a
time.
free fire zone,
Was it?
but Yeah, but
People live
every
there.
now and then a water buffalo would wander in there and somebody would be chasing it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And the mortars would fire a few rounds
Oh,
to drive them back.
there's
you know?
movement.
Yeah.
Well,
They used to have some kind of bunch of guys that had some sort of movement detectors or something, you remember? They sat up
Yeah,
next
they
to us
had
at
those.
Charlie Ford.
Yeah, those radar, tipsy radar, is that what they called that stuff?
I don't know if I know them.
Tipsy radar,
Yeah.
I think they called it, but anyways, it would send out signals and bounce back if any movement or anything, it would bounce it back.
They had that there?
Yeah.
Sitting
yeah,
right
they had
next to us there at Charlie Ford one time.
They converted,
Didn't know he was all that.
they converted
Yeah.
our,
No.
night goggles were exciting as we got, you know.
they
And they weren't very
converted
good.
our, you know, our azimuth indicator that was in meals
Right,
Mm-hmm,
to, they gave us a degree chart,
yeah.
you know, where we could,
yeah,
if it was such and such a degree, it equaled this many meals, and we
Right.
could set that on an azimuth indicator and,
Fire around.
yeah.
but they were set up right next to our position. I know one night, maybe we're getting a little bit off, but one night I was sitting on the tank and seen some movement,
Mhm.
and the tipsy radar was here and had a M60 machine gun hole right here, you know, and so anyways, I kept seeing some movement, and I said, Lordy mercy, and our infrared didn't work. We took a round through the searchlight, and our white light worked great.
Right.
They put a new lens and stuff in the searchlight, but if you turn the infrared on, a big green streak would.
Oh, jeez.
Anyways, the kept seeing this movement, and I got the grease gun up on the top of the turret,
Right.
and kept seeing movement, and so pretty soon I hear a ah, and that 60 go two. And it was, we had a dog handler and a dog,
Oh,
and the dog had got loose and was out roaming around, and he jumped. I guess he woke the grunts up in that hole, but he jumped on top of their bunker. And when the dog jumped, the grunt seen it, and he let out a big scream and cut loose.
oh, jeez. Oh, my God.
That dog was something. He'd go around visit. I mean, he was the friendliest. I've seen some mean ones over there. But
Yeah.
this dog was the friendliest dog unless they told him to eat somebody and then
Yeah.
eat him. And that dog used to go to the Ville, and the Gooks would let him come on in because they were figuring,
Fair. Or,
we'll get some big puppies now.
yeah, yeah, well, that's. Well, guys, we're running out of time, and I really appreciate the stories and everything. It's amazing.
Don, you got anything? We've been talking mostly.
That's good. I'm just sitting here confirming. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna
right.
say, he validated everything you said, he keeps nodding over it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
this is
he had
great,
some-
we're
You
gonna
know,
need this.
the lieutenant's name was John Markham.
Yeah, John Paul Markham.
Yeah, and
Need to get Peavy to do a thing on him.
Yeah,
really, I pulled it up on the wall, his information, and he was married. He had one brother, but I've had a guilt feeling, I guess,
mhm.
since that happened. Maybe I should have paid more attention to him, and maybe because I was pissed he was on the tank.
He made that
Because
decision.
I don't know, but
He made that
Well,
decision,
he
John.
had nothing
He had no choice.
Yeah, you did. You-
John had no
oh
choice.
yeah, I didn't have any choice. But
Yeah.
maybe I should have paid more attention to him and told him to get his ass down in the turret or something. You know, but
Probably wouldn't have done any good. You know how lieutenants are.
oh yeah,
I don't know if his MOS was even tanked.
he was an 1802 officer.
to
Yeah.
do. He wasn't, he was an Marine officer,
Yeah.
or tank officer.
Hell of a nice guy.
Yeah.
You know?
He was a nice guy.
Yeah. But he made that call.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was his call.
Yeah.
He was always a little standoffish because he was an officer and we were not gentlemen, I guess. And,
Okay, guys, we probably got to wrap it up.
Okay,
Thank you.
well,
yeah,
Very, very good stories. And
hope it helps.
I
you
will.
know, I found out about 3 months after we got done at San Diego, that's where he was buried. In that
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, out on, give him a pack of cigarettes or something.
Yeah.
You know, one time we set up an ambush there at C4. And we ran a tank up